see. Welcome, Mr. Dave Bennett, the second time coming on the Jill Butler Experience. And today is 4/24/24. So this is a very auspicious number with lots of twos and lots of fours.
Wow, I wasn't even paying attention to that. Thank you for having me on the show again, Jill. We've been friends for a long time, so this is always a joy to be able to share on a podcast that I know the host.
Yeah, we know each other. We go way back.
Yeah.
Way back. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you, and I feel like these times are just absolutely amazing as far as the quickening of all of the way time, and we know time isn't real, but the way we experience time is unbelievable right now. And I wanted to get into with you a bit about your how your near-death experiences catapulted you into what we are right now in this day of April 2024.
Yeah, Jill, you're absolutely right. It is like everything is quicker nowadays, and we liken it to it's cash karma. We all know about karma and how it affects this last life, affects this life will affect next life. But right now, things are happening at such a rapid pace that you pay your karma right now. It's cash karma. It's on the table right now. So we have to be reactive and interactive. We're all interconnected, so it's important that we recognize that and work with that and bring it into all of our interactions. So staying positive, keeping that empowered attitude really helps you to be in that flow so that you can interact at the moment and you can be present when you need to be present, that sort of thing. But yeah, the near-death experience was many years ago for me. It was back in 1983 that I had my first near-death experience. And at the time, it was frightening because I was an engineer and I had a really tough time dealing with it because I was experiencing things that just weren't in my worldview, weren't in my reality until after that near-death experience. But in the experience, you get so exposed to who you really are and who that you recognize, wow, man, I need to work on myself. I need to be better at being a human in this life. I need to participate more with my spiritual nature, that sort of thing. Because I was an engineer. I saw things as black and white. My spiritual nature, I had no clue about it. So suddenly, you come back from one of these really profound spiritual experiences and you have to learn how to live with it. And that is a challenge in itself, So you become a voracious reader. You start studying. You start trying to reconnect with that divine nature that's within us, and you have some successes, you have some failures, and then the neat thing about it, though, is once you start down that path, the universe recognizes it, right? And it starts to collaborate with you. You want to know about your spirituality? Then I'm going to help you get in touch with your spirituality. But you have to be sincere about your desire to do that. I like to say, we set that ideal. That's an Edgar Cayce thing, is setting ideals. To set an ideal that I want to be, that's my guiding star. I want to be connected to my divine nature, okay? Now, you may not be able to live with your divine nature on a minute-to-minute basis, on every minute, but to be able to touch it, find those windows of opportunity and to work with it. So that's what happened with me. Is it was a slow start, but I reinvigorated meditation that I knew of when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was exposed to a lot of Native American spirituality. And so when I came back from the near-death experience, I found that I wanted to re-examine that because when I saw my life review, that rang true. What I learned from those grandmothers really, really felt. That was my truth. And so I wanted to re-examine that because truth is so important, so critical. To be truthful to yourself, be true to yourself is critical in the spiritual path. You want to be, and then be grateful for everything. So I started what I called my quiet ministry. And Jill, you were there when I was doing a lot of my quiet ministry, because we worked together in the same place. And but I wasn't advertising who I was. I wasn't advertising my experiences, but I was
No.
trying to live by what I'd learned in those experiences. And I was trying to bring that into all aspects of my life. So the way I managed my, department in the dialysis program and things like that was all, I was trying to do it from my authentic spiritual nature. And I was trying to be truthful to who I am. But sometimes we get knocked off course, right? It happens to us
Yeah.
all, Joe, right? I mean,
Yeah.
circumstances pull us away from ourselves. It's just it's part of being human, but we
Right.
can't beat ourselves up over it. We have to be realistic. We have to be down to earth, and because we have to live in this world, but we can also keep one foot on this world and one foot on our divine nature, and allow that and slowly weave that together so that we become whole again, and we can really, really interact in the world in an empowering, heart-centered, and be able to affect change. We don't realize how much change we actually can achieve. We all think that, oh, I'm this separate individual forging my way through life, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, and I saw this in my life review, that we're interconnected, that every action and interaction that we do affects other people. And we don't have the ability in the physical form to be able to see how we affect other people and how that creates ripples. Okay.
It's
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, right. And so we can't see that. So what we need to do is try to maintain that level of awareness so that we rise above the circumstances and we have a clearer sense of vision. And when we can interact from that place, then
Yeah.
those ripples become more empowering. They become more effective in change. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what I called my quiet ministry. So I tried to work that way. And I saw, because I had even while we were working together, I had a huge second near death experience on one of my trips with a spiritual group that was out of Rochester at the time, and we went back to Sedona, where I grew up as a boy, and I had a second near death. Well, it was a near death like experience, but in that experience, I saw how much trying to live with my truth, with an understanding of how I could accept myself for who I am. Okay, um, a lot of times, um, a lot of times we really don't even take the time to see who we really are. Okay, but when we can accept, okay, this is who I am right here, right now. Not real fond of this aspect of myself, and maybe I'm not too fond of that, but I'm really strong here and I'm really strong there, and I'm going to grow those aspects, and I'm going to work on the negative ones, and I'm going to try to make myself a better person so that I could be that positive person with a higher level of awareness, and I can then, I can be that person. So, acceptance of ourself, and then learning to be tolerant, especially in today's society where there's so much divisiveness, so much polarity that's going on right now. We need to understand what true tolerance is about, because everybody is walking around on this earth, on Mother Gaia. We're all here together, but we all feel like we're these separate individuals. And so we're making choices that we think are good for us. But I may not agree with the choices you're making, but it's your choices. It's your
Exactly.
life.
Exactly.
And so we need to be tolerant with them, with people that are making choices that maybe we don't agree with. Okay, but we're still human beings. We're still interconnected. We can still work together. It requires maybe a little negotiation. It requires a little bit of compassion for each other. But
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but we're not seeing that a lot today, although it is present. And that's the message that I like to convey to people, is that there is a huge community of like-minded people like yourself, myself, and we're trying to share the message that we can be tolerant, we can be compassionate, we can be true to ourselves and still have a conversation. We can still, my followers come from all walks of life. And, and, and some of them actually shock me sometimes with the things that, that they participate in. And I'm like, whoa, no, I wouldn't go there, but God bless, they're in the thick of it, and God bless them, I mean, if that's how they view life, then that's how they view life, but they're still following some of the things that maybe I have to say, or some of the things that some of the, the dialogue that happens, on my channels and things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to honor that. So acceptance of yourself, tolerance of others, and the situations that you find yourselves in. A lot of times we find ourselves in horrible situations, and when we're in a bad situation, most of the time our nature goes into survival mode. And
Yeah.
when we're in survival mode, we just we don't have
You make an
time for,
impact.
yeah, we don't
Yeah.
have time for spirituality. We're trying to survive, okay? And a lot of people nowadays are finding themselves in that mode, in that survival mode. But if even in survival mode, we have the ability to take a breath. Take a breath.
Yes, yes. Breathing is something I always talk about when I come on my lives and I'm talking to people about the centering techniques, the things to do that anybody can do at any time. I talk about grounding, I talk about breath work, and I'm always holding space for people to drink water, to use water as very centering and grounding. So those are
Yes.
like the three go-tos, and obviously meditation is a
Yeah.
huge one. But meditation is kind of like something everyone kind of knows at this point, even if they don't really step into it. Everyone knows about it pretty much.
Yeah,
So
and that's exactly it. I mean, we all centering. That's the key, is because when we just take a breath, we center, we drink some water, take some time to drink some water and allow yourself to drink the water, be present while you're drinking the water, give yourself a minute, just a minute, and you'll find that there's more of a sense of clarity. There's more of a sense of expansiveness of your own being whenever you center yourself. So yeah, it's very very empowering. It helps you to cope. It gives you stronger coping mechanisms when you can start to connect with your heart and start, because a lot of times we spend all our time up here. But a lot of times the real decisions in life come from our heart. Okay. And what
now now there's so much research with the brain heart coherence. Like I was
yes,
watching
yes.
something with Greg Brady the other day, and he was talking about that, and all the way back to Drumvalo, Melchizedek. He
Mm-hmm.
used to do
Yeah.
the heart centering, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. He did all kinds of classes and stuff on
Yeah.
that. And now it's finally becoming into the main consciousness about
Yeah.
getting to
Yeah.
the heart space and living through the heart, which is sometimes also what people say is the divine feminine, is going from the brain, which is more the masculine, to the feminine, even though we're trying to get away from the polarities and we're trying to get away from the separation. But if we can do that symbiotic move from the brain to the heart, to the brain to the heart, and keep that flow, I
Yeah.
think that's where the sweet spot exists, if you would agree.
Yes, absolutely. Back in on Easter Sunday of 1983, I was ordained through the Order of Melchizedek, and
I didn't know that. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
and it's not something I talk a lot about, but that in that process there was that connection. There was that connection of heart, mind, and even all of your energy centers were brought into alignment in that ordination process. It was an incredibly expansive experience. And the neat thing about coming together like that is that it sends this, it's like it sends a laser beam up to the oneness, up to the light, that says, okay, put him on the docket for some work, you know. And yeah, because I mean, immediately following that type, because it's sincere commitment. The same thing as when I spent Cindy and I both spent 3 days with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and he was teaching us the ways of the Bodhisattva. And we had no intention at the end of it. We were part of 100 American students that were studying with His Holiness for 3 days, and we were dining with the monks, and we were total involvement, and at the end of it, he offered to give the Bodhisattva vows to the students, and about half of the students stepped forward to take their Bodhisattva vows with His Holiness. And for some reason, Cindy and I stepped up. We had no intention going into it. We knew that was going to be an offer at the end, but we were not going to give our Bodhisattva vows, because I don't know if you know what a Bodhisattva vow is, but it's a vow of that you agree to continually reincarnate until all sentient beings are awakened.
Oh no, wow, I did not know
A
that.
huge commitment. But
Wow.
while we were saying our Bodhisattva vows with His Holiness, it was like, this is so familiar. I have done this lifetime after lifetime before.
Oh, you
So it
guys.
was, yes, so it was just a reconfirmation. But now that is a serious, serious commitment to
Yes.
humanity and to all sentient beings. All right.
Right. Yeah, that's
So,
incredible.
so it's not something to take lightly, right?
No, no.
That comes from your heart. That's a heart decision. That's not a mind decision. That's a
Right.
heart decision. That's
Right.
when your heart knows. And when your heart knows, it resonates and you feel it in your entire being, you know? And we pay attention to those. Even if we're in survival mode, we have moments where we feel our heart resonate. That's a signal. Pay attention. There's
Yeah,
something
I
to,
feel like when I feel like spirit is with me and I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do in that moment, I feel like my whole body tingles. I feel a whole tingling experience, and I feel lit up, like it's like there's like a ding 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 ding. You have to do that. You have to do that. You have to do that. And like I do, channeling, and things come through, and I am guided to share and give things to people all the time. But it's different. Like it's different when it's like a real, it's like in a real inspired moment of oneness with all of who you are, like all your existence
yeah.
comes together, and they're like all bowing to each other at the very same time, and it's amazing, just an amazing feeling. And with that, I want to ask you, because this is coming up, and this is something that I wanted to speak to you about, is I remember way back when at one of your near-death experiences, you were actually, this was towards the end of your New York State chapter, when you were guiding that whole entire group, you had slides up, and you were talking about one of your one of the things that was happening at that time for you, that was opening to you, was you were understanding what was happening in this time frame right now. Like you were talking about all the things that were going to happen, and you were saying, I think I remember correctly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remembered that you said something to the effect of, we wouldn't have to come back anymore, and if we did come back again, we could remember what our incarnations were, whereas before we always had to forget before this incarnation. But
Yeah.
then if we were able to come back, and we did choose to come back to the earth, we would be able to remember everything. It would just be a smooth transition.
Yeah, and we've actually started seeing that. When you start looking at the indigo children, the star children, they already come back with the memory. They're already
Right.
coming back with their memory. And so they're already leaps and bounds ahead of most of us. I mean, uh, I had to work to get to that point. I mean, I had to really, really, it's not so much work as it is discipline. It takes a sense of discipline that this is
Oh, yeah.
sincerely, I want to work toward, connecting with my divine nature so that I can be aware and using that as my guidepost in life. But these newer children coming in already have that ability to connect with their divine nature. And so they have this guidance. They have the spiritual, um, the oneness. They're connected to that oneness already. And so they're able to bring that into their interactions and their life, which is that is proof that yes, we are evolving. Yes, we are moving toward, even though it doesn't look like it right now. There's a lot going on in the world that doesn't look too spiritual at the time. Where we're fighting each other, where we're just at odds all the time. Well, but underneath all of that, there's a quiet revolution that's happening.
Yes.
There's a quiet revolution, and it because we don't need to be at war. We don't need to fight to achieve this. This is something that we can all do, and it's up to each and every individual to kind of work that way, to work toward it. This is a shared purpose for humanity, really.
Right.
And the more that we work toward it, even if we don't achieve full enlightenment, I mean, we're not going to be Jesus. We're not going to, because we're too we're too caught up in our humanness. At least our generation. Our generation has we didn't have a lot of the things, the methods of communication that we have now, that we can reach across the world. I'm talking to people around the world every week, and it's amazing. And the common theme that I hear over and over and over, I don't care what language you're speaking, I don't care what belief system you're from, is that people want to connect with the divine. They want to connect with their divine source. And
Yes.
and so that's a common theme that's percolating up. Okay, it's not in the mainstream media. It's not talked about, on a daily basis so much, but it is there. It's present, and people are working toward it. And that's the encouraging message that I see, that I hear, and that I gravitate toward. So it helps
Right.
me on a daily basis to be able to see that there is that. I was talking to a gal from Holland just yesterday, and she hasn't had a spiritual experience, but she understands the dynamics. She understands, and so she's trying to live with a higher ideal. She's trying to bring that into her life, and that's what it's all about. And the more you do that, the spiritual experiences will come.
The
It's not
breadcrumbs.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The more you establish that type of ideal and you start working with it with that heart center, then the spiritual experiences will come. You'll feel that unconditional love. You'll feel that expansive nature of oneness. Those things will come, but it takes a little discipline. We have to discipline ourselves that this is what I really want. And
Right. And I think that there's such a focus right now, and I think this is kind of a frustration for a lot of people, Dave. And I think that me and you kind of understand the inside out of it because we did spend so much time in meditation. We spent so much time in our practices that we understand all this didn't happen overnight for us. But I think there's this idea right now. And I think it's because everything is in all, YouTube and, all the social medias are all talking about ascension and all these different things about getting to this place and arriving to this place. And it's an inner journey. And it's so hard because, in some ways, people are distorting what is really happening and what we're really supposed to be doing in the sense of our inner journey. It's being distorted from the outside in instead of the inside out. And I think it's up to us, people such as ourselves, to try to explain and express that it's not a race.
No.
It's not, it's a turtle pace for each human. And everybody's going to get to where they need to get to in the lifetime that they decide.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to be many, many lifetimes. Sometimes it's going to be a shorter journey and less lifetimes, but it's not a race.
No, no, but it is like we started out talking about a quickening. It is available quicker than
Faster.
it used to be. It's easier now because the veils are thinner now.
Well,
The
explain about that, Dave, please. For our viewers, explain. I mean, there's a general understanding of that, but I want your perspective because you had NDEs and you saw a lot of things and you've had a lot of experiences that showed you. So tell people about what you know about that, please.
Yeah, well, it used to be that we lived in a denser reality where it was very hard to break through. But as you know, and that's part of the reason why we're able to have indigo children and star children is because these I like to call them veils. And there's other names for them, but we'll just stick with veils tonight. But the um, the thing that's we feel this is that false illusion of separateness, okay, that we're we're just individuals and that we don't have any connection with each other, we don't have any connection with the divine, that we have to listen to somebody who's gonna who's more connected going to tell us about it, but we can't connect to it ourselves. Well, that's not
Right.
the case at all. And the more people that have started to evolve, okay, there's many, many more people. And it's kind of interesting. Our own technology has actually helped humanity to get to where we're producing more spiritual experiences so that there's more awareness within the world. Simple thing is just when we learned how to do compressions to bring people that are having a cardiac arrest, okay, CPR, things like that. The fact that we now have technology that can bring people back that have been dead for many minutes, okay, that sort of thing. So what's happening is our own our own technology is enlightening people to the point that now there are there's some general rules of how consciousness, the more people that expand their consciousness, okay, that it creates this curve where more people become more aware, more people become consciously aware. And as that consciousness grows, it affects all of us because we are interconnected. We may not realize it, but the more that everyone expands their consciousness and starts to touch those higher realities, it affects
Pushes
everybody. And yes,
pushes everybody forward. It pushes. So
exactly. And so
so the next level.
that's what thins the veils. Okay. So because there's so many more people that are becoming more higher functioning with their consciousness, then the veil becomes thinner for everyone else. So, and right now is a really, really amazing time. You and I were talking earlier about how, like subjects like spirituality and near-death experiences used to be nobody talked about them. Okay,
Very
there,
true.
there were just a few of us that were out there, kind of forging the way a little bit and trying to bring it to people's awareness. Well, that is especially in the last 10 years or so, it's gotten to the point where it's very, very popular. It's catapulted up, so that's helping shows like what you're doing here, Jill aware, Jill's awareness. This is the type of format that helps other people to see, wow, you know that's something I can do, that's easily achievable. And the more that I do that, the more my life's going to flow in a positive direction. I'm going to be able to get out of the survival, mode and be able to just begin to really flow through life and not be so reactive to everything that's coming at me. Um,
And
So
I think
the veil is thinning. It is thinning.
and
It's easier. It's not so hard, but it still requires a little bit of discipline. I mean, I keep coming back to that because, and that's what's discouraging. I talk to a lot of folks and they say, Dave, I can't meditate. And it's like, well, what is meditation to you? Is it sitting like a pretzel and oming and stuff like that? What's your what what's meditation for you? Because meditation doesn't have to be difficult. You can meditate while you're washing the dishes. You can meditate while you're walking or gardening. You can meditate while you're, I mean, activity can be a part of your meditation practice, can be a part of your spiritual practice. You can make everyday activities a spiritual practice. And people don't realize that. I would encourage people to read maybe some of Thich Nhat Hanh's material, stuff like that,
yes,
because,
yes,
be,
one of my
yeah,
first books I ever read on mindfulness was his book.
yeah, because he talks about bringing it into your everyday life. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to sit like a pretzel. Okay. You just don't have to. I mean, if you want to, and if that works for you, great, God bless, but it for me, I use a different approach. And this is what I talk about on my podcast is I use contemplation. It's an old form of meditation. You still go into stillness, just like regular meditation, but then you pose a question. You just put this question out there. And when I first started, it was I would generate the question and I would just put it out there in the universe. And then I would allow spirit, my higher awareness, and myself to kind of meld into that point and into that question. Okay. And then allow the discussion to occur.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, I go into my stillness and I just kind of like to me it's almost like flipping a switch now, but this has taken years for me to evolve to this point of my contemplative meditation practice. But now I just go into there and I just go to that point. I don't pose the question anymore. I just go to the point and allow it to generate what's necessary, what's needed for me.
right.
And this is a personal thing because each and every one of our journeys is a personal journey, like you just said earlier. It's our path, and so, but it's an exploration. And the neat thing is, if we go at it with a sense of wonder, wonder is
Right.
an amazing,
Yeah,
amazing motivator to be able, because when you're in a state of wonder, you're looking for truth. You're trying to find your truth. And that is because you look at everything, okay? You don't discount anything, but because you're an explorer, you're trying to find what works for you. This is your spiritual path. This is your spiritual journey. And so coming at it with a sense of wonder, look at everything and what resonates. Again, the heart. What makes your heart feel expansive? I've got a bunch of friends and experiencers that they may feel it differently. Like I feel it in my heart, so I talk about my heart. But some people feel it maybe in, their crown, maybe their
mhm.
third eye. Some of my healer friends feel it in the palms of their hands. Um, and your gut, and we all know about, oh, it was a gut reaction. It was a gut feeling. The gut is a huge ganglia of receptors that we don't even think about. So there's a lot of information that come at us, and that we are able to perceive through our heart, through our gut, through our mind. All of these are receptors and that allow us to bring in this information, this energy that's always around us. But we have to develop the awareness of, so
Yeah,
that we can, because, and then it takes, once we develop the awareness and we start to feel the communication, start to feel the energy. I like to liken it to flavors. For me, that they're different flavors. But other people relate it in different ways. But then you have to be able to discern, what does it mean? You have to interpret. And that sometimes takes practice. It's like dream analysis. You can read all the different dream analysis books in the world, but what a snake means to you might mean something different to me. Okay.
And I think that's really important, David, that you said that, because I think one of the problems, or one of the things that happen with people, is they continue to look outward for answers instead of going into an inward place. I'll give you an example. I drive down the parkway every day to go to my job, and I see eagles all the time, because I don't know if you are
Oh
aware, but
yeah.
on
Oh
a
yeah. I'm aware. Yeah. Yeah.
huge uh amount of eagles that live there now. And so there was a day a couple weeks ago that we had an earthquake, okay?
Hmm.
And it was an earthquake that I physically felt while I was in my job. It actually moved my chair. Like, that's how much of it I felt. That day that I was on my way to work, I usually see eagles on the right hand side of the road in the trees. On this particular day, I saw them in the right and I saw them on the left. And so I went inward immediately and I said, oh, the eagles are telling me that we're going to have balance. And I got really excited. I was like, oh, balance, balance, balance. Well, what the eagles were telling me is I need to find balance, because I'm going to have an experience today that's going to literally take me off my balance. And the eagles work with my energy and they speak with me. So I got part of the message, but I didn't go outward. I didn't go online. I didn't go looking for someone to tell me what it was. I took the time to go inward. And then as soon as I realized, when my chair got moved and I felt that earthquake, I said, oh my gosh, they're just trying to tell me to find balance. So it's like one of those examples of like going inward instead of going outward for the
Right.
answer.
Yeah. 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 Because there. Yeah. I had an amazing. You bring up the Eagles. I had an amazing experience one time where I had gone outward. Okay, I was because in these experiences you experience this profound love, and so I went on this quest to learn about everything about love, and so I was buying every book, tape. I was listening to everything and reading anything I could find on love, and and one of my favorite authors had this series. It was back. Okay, so this is going back when with cassette tapes. All right, in the car, and I'm not that old, but
No,
anyway,
that
uh,
tapes too.
but but I'm listening to this cassette tape about love. Okay, and about finding love. That was the name of the series, and I'm really enwrapped in the whole thing. Well, prior to that, I mean, I've had these spiritual experiences. I could hear spirit. I communicate with my soul family. I have a great sense of community and on the other side that I communicate with on a regular basis. Well, as I was searching outwardly to find out about love and listening to this tape day after day after day, suddenly I couldn't hear spirit. I'd lost my sense of connection.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, right. And
That's a good
so I'm
name.
like, I'm freaking out because this was like a normal way of living is my communication with spirit on a daily basis. You know what I mean? And suddenly to have that quiet, it was like, whoa. And at first I didn't even know it because I was so caught up in circumstances. I was, at work and this and that and the other thing. And that I wasn't paying attention. And then I had already scheduled to go to the spiritual retreat. And I'm thinking, oh great, that's what I need. I need to go to a spiritual retreat so that I can step back, recenter, re-energize, and reestablish my spiritual communication. So I went to the retreat. And the retreat was amazing. Had some great stuff that happened there. In fact, this is when Cindy and I really connected with each other. We connected at this retreat and we shared this meditation where we actually both were in the meditation together. We saw each other in the meditation, and in the
Wow.
meditation, she saw a bunch of birds. She didn't know what kind of birds, but a bunch of birds that were interacting. And meanwhile, I'm trying to connect with my soul family. I'm trying to connect with my, higher divine self. I was so wrapped up in it. Nothing. Whole retreat went by, still silence.
Oh no.
So I'm like, oh, really, really down, really down. So I'm driving home from the retreat. It was in Geneseo, and I'm driving back to Syracuse. And on my way back, I had 13 encounters with hawks that would fly right in front of my car, land, and then look at me.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And I'm like,
Incredible.
yeah, so the first one and this. And so hawks have always had, when you see a hawk, you see a hawk. A cigar is a cigar sometimes, right? But like you were saying, yeah, you always see them on the right side, but suddenly they're on the left side. It's like, so the first encounter, I really didn't, I was just like, oh, wow, that is beautiful. Wow, I really, my heart feels great to be able to experience that. And the second one, one on this side, one on that side. It was happening all the way home. I had these 13 encounters with
That's intense.
close encounters with hawks. And so the last one, the 13th one, I'm almost home. And I'm like, oh, hawks really one of my messengers. It's one of my messengers.
Right.
And it teaches me to stop and pay attention. What's happening around me? What
Right.
should I be looking for? Is there a
Right.
new direction I need to take?
Right.
What's going on? What were the actions of these animals? Because this is what I was taught as a boy, the natural way with the grandmothers, is pay
Right.
attention to these sort of things in your life. So I finally, oh, shoot, let's pay attention. The minute that I let myself delve back into myself and listen, spirit goes, well, it's about time. It's about time.
You were too much in the external and they were punishing
Exactly.
you.
I was so caught up in externally trying to find something that I already had. I have the love of my soul family. I have the connection to my divine nature. But I was trying for more. I wanted, anyway, I wanted that. I wanted that love here on earth. And it's something that we can touch periodically, but it's not something we can live in. It's because it's just so overpowering. I mean, nowadays my practice has evolved even further because actually go into the light now. When I do my healing practice with people, I actually go into the light, connect with their divine light, and their divine light actually is what directs the energy work that I do now. So, but
Wow,
that's
I want to actually talk about that because I haven't really gotten into your current work that you do. We haven't really ever talked deeply about that. So I do want to get into that a little bit too.
okay. All right.
'Cause
All right.
that's what I said, where you came and where you're at, and this is where you're at with it. Like you've evolved so much from the beginning stages of your near death. And then but people have to understand we're talking about how many years that was. Now, yeah, we admit it's quickening, it's faster, but that was a chunk of time that you had a lot of practice and a lot of discipline and a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, I can't stress enough to anybody who's listening
Yeah.
to develop a spiritual practice. Just develop a spiritual practice.
Yes.
Find something. Find something. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be very, very simple. But find something that brings you closer to your spirit, your center, you know.
Wow.
Start out small. Don't try to go for don't try to knock it out of the park. I'm going to meet Jesus. I'm going to, don't try to knock it out of the park day one. Just try to find a way to relax. Relax into your spirituality. Don't push. And I've been
Yeah.
doing this, yeah, for a lot of years. Okay, since since 83. So I've been on the path for a while. And what so over 40 years. So what I've learned is that, and I've had mentors along the way. You see, I didn't learn how to go into the light until I had a mentor show me and take me and help me to return to the light and find my own inner doorway. So the secret to being able to do that is to find your inner doorway. Now, we talked earlier about when you feel your truth, or when you feel that you feel it. There's a physical sensation.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a clue. That's a clue. That physical sensation, wherever you feel it, whether it's your heart, your hands, your crown, your third eye, your gut, wherever you feel it, that's probably your doorway. That's how you're going to connect to the divine. That's how you're eventually going to, but you have to do it in steps, in increments. But my mentor took me to, we were talking. I went and visited Margaret. She was Margaret Keene. She was my mentor. She's passed now, but she we were sitting on her couch in her living room, and we were talking, and she asked me, David, because she was an experiencer, a very well-known experiencer at the time. Many people sought her out because she taught how to, like baby steps, have an NDE-like experience through these baby steps that she taught. I forget the name of there's some people in West Virginia that still teach it. But anyway, so we're sitting there, and she asked me point blank, Dave, do you ever go back into the light? I said, no, Margaret, I can't. It's just when I touch that light, when I get that close to the light and that divine oneness, I said, the love that I feel is so strong that it overpowers my emotions. I become this puddle of tears because I'm just, so overwhelmed with my emotions. My physical emotions are so overwhelmed. And when I was in my near-death state, I'm out of my body. I'm not in my body, and I could participate with that love. I could participate with that expansiveness. But while I'm in my body, I said, I just can't do it, Margaret. It's just too much for me. And she asked me, she goes, well, would you cross over with me? And I said,
Wow.
yeah, I'd love to. And the next thing I know, we're on the threshold. and
Wow.
and she
Wow.
and I cross over, and she's like, can you do this? This is, but
She
she
did
was
it.
incredibly loving. When you were in Margaret's presence, you felt that love. It was palpable. It was it was incredible to be in Margaret's space, because when you were in her presence, you felt the love. I used to joke with her. You and one other person I've ever met, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, exudes love like that. I've never met anyone else that could exude that love. I said, and she used to laugh at me. She goes, what do you think? I'm not human? I get mad. I get angry. I get frustrated. I'm not living in a state of love all the time. She used to chide me about it, but I used to tell her, someday I want to be like you, Margaret. You're my goal. And so, but so she took me across, and we were in that love. We were in that divine presence. And I
Do you
didn't know
remember
what
what did you guys exactly do? Like,
we
what was the
we
process?
talked. We were having a heart to heart type of conversation. But her love was so expansive that she showed me my doorway. She showed me the threshold.
Wow.
That's all she did. She showed me the threshold. So unbeknownst to us, a friend of ours, William, had come into the room and sat down and started trying to have a conversation with us. And meanwhile, Margaret and I were just staring at each other. No words. We were just sitting on the couch staring at each other. And so he got frustrated. He got up and left. And the next morning, he's like, what the heck was up with you two? I came down. I started talking to you. You totally blew me off. And it's like, we didn't even know you were there. It
I
was because we were in an altered state. We were, we had, and he just wasn't on that same frequency, wasn't on that same energy line. But that taught me that where my threshold was. And that's the important thing. I
ah,
know my threshold is in my heart center. And when I can maintain that stillness. And I can do it at the drop of a hat now because I've done it so many hundreds of times with clients. But
Wow.
but and it just takes some focus. I mean, but once you know it, once you know where your threshold is, it's not
Wow.
really the threshold isn't something physical. It's not in this physical realm. Okay. But you feel the sensation. You feel a physical sensation before you cross over.
Wow. That's
But your
amazing.
consciousness is what crosses over, not your physical being. Like
Right, right.
it's not like I'm ascending. Okay. I'm just my consciousness is crossing the threshold.
That's amazing. So you're stepping into a higher version of yourself, basically, is what you're
Actually,
saying.
well, that's a great question because this is my theory. If it doesn't feel right, don't buy it. But I believe, and many people that I talk to that are really, really connected,
Mhm.
that in this life, we have, and you hear people talk about the divine spark that resides within us.
Right,
Okay.
right.
To me, that is just a fragment of your total light. And the totality of your being still resides in the oneness. So, and
Wow.
that's that's the connection. Okay. So when I cross the threshold, I'm crossing into my totality of being.
Okay.
And when I'm there, I can connect to your totality of being.
Wow. Okay. That's
Well,
amazing.
and your being, your essence, your light will guide me on how to treat you.
Oh, so it's people are coming to you for physical healing or emotional healing.
Physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, yeah,
Wow.
all walks of life, all around the world. I have clients internationally, so yeah.
That's amazing. That's not honestly, out of all the different healing modalities and all the different things I'm connected to, I've not heard of it quite like that, like what you do. I don't, is it not very common? I don't think.
Though, modalities like healing touch, Reiki, all of them, they're tapping into that. It's
I do
just
Reiki a little bit. Yeah, I
yeah,
do Reiki.
it's just the next level of transferring your consciousness into the energy. So I'm not actually channeling anything. I'm just there facilitating the energy work from the other side instead of
You know,
being table.
it kind of reminds me a little bit, but it's framed differently from the way you're saying it. A little bit how like Dolores
Hmm.
Cannon, how
Hmm.
she went with her, quantum healing hypnosis, how she got into a state and she got in her people into a state, and then she went in kind of and was able to look at things. Is it similar to that kind of?
It's very similar, and because we're all connecting to that same realm, that same level of consciousness. Okay. But it's just you're transporting yourself. Um, and it sounds very simple, but again, it takes a little discipline and perseverance to find the doorway and to work your way to it. Now, I know I'm gonna dispel everything right now. People have asked me over time, will you teach me like your mentor taught you? I'm going to say
Mhm.
no. I'm going to say no because just to stop all the emails from coming in, because I don't talk about this a lot, but I get a number of requests every year to teach people, and I I've learned because I've tried to teach other people at times, but until they're ready, it's not teachable.
Right. No,
I can't give it to you. Okay.
it's a vibration that you have to
Mhm.
be reaching.
And
And
so what I rely on now is I rely on spirit to tell me, okay, this person is ready. And when I get that message, every one of those people and it's not that many, it's only I could count them on one hand. Um, The people that I've received that message we were successful. And the funny thing is, the last time that we did it, Margaret came through and helped guide them to their threshold.
Wow. And she's not even here on this
No, she's
planet
not even here,
anymore.
but she's with me a lot. But she came, and now she's one of their spirit guides.
Wow.
And they've never ever met her. But Margaret was
That's
such
so
a loving force that so
well,
anyway.
that's so cool how there's like still that work you're doing with her, like
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
other realms, and she's helping you and you're helping her, and it's
Yeah.
like that symbiotic exchange, but it's through the veil, it's
Yeah.
back and
It's
forth
through
through
the
the
veil.
veil.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
That is really amazing, Dave. That
And
is
that
like,
person had asked me probably 3 years in a row, kept asking me, would you show me? Not now. Not now. Because I wasn't getting the affirmation. But the time that I was like, yeah, we can do it this year. We'll do it this year.
wow.
So
That's amazing, Dave. That's amazing. That is
hey,
absolutely
I took Cindy there, and it was kind of funny. We got to the threshold. She saw the light and she felt that love, but she had too much of her physical presence with her, and she just immediately shut down because it was like, I'm not worthy kind of thing. It was like,
oh my goodness.
and she
Oh my
shut right down.
goodness.
Because it's
Oh
very
my
intimate.
goodness.
It's a very intimate experience. I mean, it's because you're connecting with your divine. So it's
Now,
very
can you do these kind of things like through a Zoom, or do you have to be in person with the person to have a session with them?
now to just a general session where I go into the light, I connect to your light essence and do a general healing and stuff. I don't do anybody in person anymore.
Oh, okay. So it's
Since
all
COVID, I shut my office down. I don't do it in person anymore. I do it all either over the phone or on Zoom. If you're an international client, we do it through Zoom. If you're in the United States and Canada, we do it over the phone.
wow. That's incredible for you to
Because
have that kind of conduct, being able to do that via phone like that. That's such an amazing, you have to be
time and
spot on.
space don't exist. You know this. Time and space don't exist.
No,
So
I don't. It's true.
it's a matter of I talk to them to bring them into the present moment. We talk about where they are in this moment because all this energy work is done in the present moment. And it's multifaceted. It's done on a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical level. So
Right.
so I call it multifaceted and a two-way street. So I will spend some time with you, and just 15 minutes, we'll talk about where you are in this present moment, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Okay. It helps you to come to the present moment in that multifaceted way. Then I'm going to give you an exercise. If you
Okay.
meditate or not, I'm going to give you an exercise. If you meditate, then we may just use your method. If you don't meditate, I'm going to give you a mantra and a breath exercise to help you relax and be receptive. That's your job, to be receptive. I'm going to
Right.
go into the light, and as we have this short conversation, I'm already connecting to your light essence, so that when I go into the light, when I cross the threshold, I can find you immediately. You're right there. You're
Wow.
present.
Wow. That's so amazing.
So that's kind of my process. So
And the thing that I think is so important for everyone to understand with any of these modalities is you're you have created a certain vibration that you hold within your body, that you're able to get yourself to a stillness, to tap into that. And it's kind of like the way I can understand it because of myself and how I function is because I've spent so many years in meditation, so long, so many hours throughout my whole life. I can get into a meditative state in a matter of just maybe 1 or 2 minutes at the very, very most. I can tap right into that deep, deep, deep state. Even through breathing exercises, I can get into a very very deep state of meditation. Now, this is something that I have spent, it's like muscle memory, and you understand what I mean.
Yep. Yep.
You have to spend years and hours and dedication and discipline, as we've been speaking about, to even be able to do that, to even be able to get into a very quick stillness. It's not something, especially in this day and age with technology and distractions and noise and
Yeah.
inner and outer noise, you understand. But what you're doing is you're able to tap into a higher vibration that you can literally be in and pull someone else into, which is fascinating and amazing. And definitely it takes discipline for that.
Yeah. Not everybody feels most people feel something's going on.
They do.
People that are meditators get a richer experience. People that haven't ever meditated in their life still feel there's something going on. They get the tingles here. They feel, whatever, it's kind of funny. But and sometimes, because we are crossing that threshold, sometimes they're guides, they're angels, their deceased loved ones, they may participate in the actual energy work as well.
Wow. And so you're able, after the whole thing is done, to say to them, hey,
Yes,
did you know
that's the
Y, Z?
follow-up. The follow-up is an email with everything that happened during the session. Who came in, what happened, how I was directed. And sometimes because this, again, it's their divine nature that is directing the energy work, right? And their
Yeah.
guides. Many times the guides and their divine nature kind of collaborate together because their guides know what their divine nature wants and needs. But so they may go into the session saying, this is what I want. But that's not necessarily what they're going to get.
What they need. They might go into
It's
it that
not
they
what
want.
they need sometimes, but then it was kind of funny. But once I tell them what happened, they're like, oh, I really needed that, But that was it may have been a deeper level that they weren't willing to relate, personally, tell me. Many of these people, they've never met me. They may have seen some videos of me on YouTube. I'm all over YouTube. So they may have seen one of my talks on YouTube or something like that. But they've never met me in person. So to have this intimate conversation with them, they may not be willing to open up fully. They may not be able to give me that soul conversation, So they'll give me what they can, but we're human, we don't develop that type level of communication with each other right off the bat. Some people do, some people that have been on the journey for a long time, they're willing to open up right away. But I get a lot of people that, refer their mother who's going through cancer. Hey, I had a huge cancer episode in my life,
Oh, you did. You did.
and so I get a lot of people that want, they want work with they're going through cancer. They want some energetic work done to help them through their crisis and things like that. So
How do you, now I have a question for you with that. So if you're doing physical healings, how do you know when, because you know that everyone has their divine will of like what they
hmm
already choose.
hmm
Like, okay, I
hmm
came in this lifetime, just like you chose cancer before you came, and that was going to be a big lesson for you. And you got a lot of, a lot of rich experience out of that you had to have. So somebody couldn't come in and swipe that away. So what happens if you meet someone and they say, hey, so and so has cancer and they want to be rid of it and they want you to do this thing for them? What if you go in and you're not allowed to touch that? What do you do or say? How does that work?
it's funny because even like someone will bring their mother, their grandmother, and
Right.
and especially no, anyway, won't go down that path. But somebody will bring their grandmother, but their grandmother has given permission to do this. Okay, I would never ever do it with somebody remotely that is unaware.
Right, right,
okay,
right.
that I haven't had the conversation. So we have a conversation. Sometimes these little grandmothers don't even speak English, so they have to translate through, somebody, and so, or we have to use a translator. So, uh, but we have the conversation. I can, and once I can feel their essence, then we can go ahead and do the energy work. But a lot of times, like you said, some people are destined to have a terminal prognosis, and they're not supposed to recover from it. Okay.
Right.
That may be part of their destiny. Maybe they're having that prognosis and going through that suffering because it's not so much about them, but all the people that are around them, helping them, treating them, going through all of that. I saw that within my own cancer, that it wasn't all about me. There were a lot of people that were involved in my cancer period, the period that I went through cancer, and that I continue to go through. And so it when I go into the light, and if it's not meant to heal it, many times, because especially really severe cases and other ailments as well. It's sometimes just a little relief is all that they require at this time.
Right.
And so if we can achieve a little relief, we've made a step in the right direction. I had
Right.
one client that came to me for years and years and years, and he had some really debilitating issues. And they were centered more in his nervous system and that sort of thing. And they were incredibly debilitating his entire life. And so I used to see him a couple times a year because we do the energy work. We'd establish a set of relief for him. We'd set but then his destiny was to work with this. Okay. And so it became pretty obvious after a couple sessions that we were just going to provide enough relief to give him 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And then we would do it again, and we would provide relief to give him, another 6 months of relief. But
Wow.
during that time, he would have, some great moments, and he would have some down moments, but we'd work
Right.
through it. We would work through it. And so sometimes it can be very empowering, but everybody gets a little something out of it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've had some experiences where people have really had some amazing things happen, and
Really?
yeah, yeah.
And do you have like everything sort of documented for yourself so you know?
You know what? I document. I have a patient records. I have patient records that I keep, but I have the records of the treatment and not the results.
Oh, you should have both, Dave. Shame on you.
No need, no
No.
need, no need.
No.
That's not what it's about. No, no.
I know. And I appreciate very much your
It's about
humbleness in that.
helping them. It's about helping them. And so the only reason I even have a record at all is so that when they call back or when they make a new appointment, I have a reference. Oh yeah, because I see a lot of people, and my memory is on. I don't remember. Once the session is done, once the email is sent, I forget. Because I can't hold on to that. I have to release that. Okay,
How
I
long
have
have
to.
you been doing this particular healing?
I have to think about that. I was doing it before I moved down here, so probably about 15 years.
Wow. Does it take a toll on you, Dave?
Not at all. Not at
It
all.
actually keeps you
No,
strong.
because it's not my energy. It's
Yeah.
their energy. It's their light. It's their essence. We're tapping into the greater light as well,
Greater space. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, kind of like Reiki energy. You're connecting to that greater
Yeah, you're
essence, right?
becoming empty vessel. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not you.
Well,
Yeah.
well, well, it's a little different there. And there, I'm just kind of like channeling. It's not even coming through me. I'm just kind of channeling the light directly to with their light. I'm fusing it with their light essence, you know. So
Yeah,
it's a little different. It's a little different.
that's incredible. Well, I'm gonna have to get myself a session. What does a session like that cost someone?
$125 flat
That
fee,
seems
flat
what
fee.
is coffee. And how long is it? Like an hour or
An
something? Or
hour. It's an hour. Yeah.
oh wow, that's actually very, very reasonable.
I actually
Very, very
raised my rate. It used to be a lot cheaper.
really
Yeah,
not
but
cheaper than 125. How much cheaper can you go?
a lot.
Oh, that's a
But
good.
but I had people telling me that I was not being realistic, you know. So
Wow. Well, that's
and you know what? You got to be able to pay for the podcast and this and the that. You know, I mean, these websites and all that stuff. Not that it's expensive nowadays, you know, for all this stuff. So it kind of pays the bills on that end. I wouldn't live off of it, but it definitely helps pay the extra bills to be able to keep the podcast going and the things that I do to give back. You know, because I believe that in life, it's not just about receiving, it's about giving.
no.
We need to live in that cyclical nature. This is something that was taught to me by those Native American grandmothers when I was a boy, is that everything is done in a circle, in a hoop. They used to call it a hoop. And that your life is a hoop. Your spiritual nature is a hoop. Okay. Your family is a hoop. Your community is a hoop. And when you think about a hoop, okay, you've got a ring that is and the outside of the ring looks outward in all directions. The inside of the ring looks inward in all directions. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is how you approach life, is you approach life as your life is a hoop. So you have to be aware of everything that's occurring outside and everything that's occurring inside. Um,
That's a beautiful way of looking at it.
so
The
that is
beauty.
the give and take. Okay. What's coming inside is what you're receiving. What's outside is what you're giving back. So giving back is just as critical as the receiving. So if you're going to start a spiritual practice, you're going to be receiving a lot
Yeah.
internally.
Yeah.
The
It's
secret is to then share.
push it
And
out.
and you don't have to, I mean, you don't have to share with $1 million or anything like that. You can just share of yourself. Be
Right.
there. Be present for someone else.
Right.
Share
Definitely.
what you've learned. It's it's sharing is very simple. It's not a complicated process. So
I agree
but
full-heartedly.
but giving and receiving is a part. It's like breath. Okay, we receive and we exhale. All right. It's the same thing with spirituality. You have to breathe in your spirituality and then you have to give back your spirituality.
Yeah. Now, how have you ever struggled, Dave, with accepting abundance? Have you struggled with that at all? Because I know
I
that
would
some
say I would say early on,
don't.
I would say early on, I well, to tell you the truth, I was an engineer. I was very, very grounded type of individual. Okay, you knew me
Mhm.
when I was, and the cancer, when my spine collapsed, when I had the stage 4 lung cancer and my spine collapsed, and I had lesions in my hip, my brain, my kidney, they only gave me weeks to live. I had to quit my job, or they retired. Okay. And I was like, ooh, how the hell am I going to survive? This is scary, you know?
Yeah.
But Cindy, who was with me at the time, we weren't married, but she was with me at the time. She was like, she had this amazing mantra that she used to say. And, back in those days, we used to write checks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything wasn't digital. We didn't do it on an app on the phone, but you can do this on an app on the phone. Okay. So every time that I would, she taught me this, every time that you send money out, payments, whatever, everything, for everything, you say, when you sign your name, and you can do this, you can just do this as a thought exercise, like on your app or something, because now we do
Mm-hmm.
digital banking, right? So as you're transmitting that money,
Mm-hmm.
because money has energy, you say, God is my supply. God is my supply. And then you let go of the need. You let go of and that was the hardest part, because I was very much, I was an engineer, so I plan things, and I budget things, and it was like, that was my life. Suddenly, I'm not working. I don't have that inflow. Fortunately, where we worked, I never took vacations that much, so I had a lot of that to bank on for a while, and it allowed me the time I needed to get into this new frame of consciousness, of mental awareness, that God is my supply. God is my supply. And so I use that to this day. So your question about abundance, I I'm rich. I'm very rich in my life, but not monetarily. But I don't look for abundance. For me, is being able to live my life fully, to squeeze all the juice out of life. That's abundance for me. Okay.
I like that.
And it's nice that the universe and God usually, if I say, well, there's this project I'd like to do. I'm currently working on a new project that I would, but to fund this new project, I just put out to the universe, this is what I'd like to do. Help me to see, is this something I should do? Is this something I shouldn't do? And so if it's easy, I know it's something that I should be doing. If it flows and it's easy, then I keep doing it. It's like hitting a brick wall, and it's like, okay, stop, don't do it. It's not, this is not going to work out. I know, because I have this relationship with my divine nature. And so I know when things are working and when things are flowing. So I start a new project, but I got to fund it. Well, I just say, give me what I need. That's all I want. Just give me what I need.
Right.
I don't need to
Right.
be rich as far as money goes. Give me what I need so that I can live a fruitful life. I can live an enriched life. I can squeeze all the juice out of life. And Jill, we travel, we do all kinds of amazing things in the course of, but God is my supply.
I like that. I like that. And I want to ask you something else before I forget, because I don't
Okay.
think I ever asked you this, believe it or not. How is it working with Morgan Freeman?
Oh gosh. Wow.
I never asked you, but I always wanted to know.
Everybody asked me that one.
I
Um,
know.
if you've watched some of his productions,
I have.
like Story of God and Through the Wormhole, those are Morgan Freeman's through his production company, his productions. Those are his babies. Okay, you get a glimpse of who he really is. Okay, that voice, we all know, that voice. That's really him. He has a sense of serenity, a sense of being. He's very comfortable in his own skin. He's he's a compassionate listener. Um, I got to have lunch with him, and we talked a little bit of philosophy, because I was very curious. These projects that he worked on were very, very ahead of their time as far as some of the broadcast material that was out there at the time. And so you know, we got to talk philosophy. Now, I'm not going to share what he shared with me about his philosophy. That's his story. It's not for me to tell. It's for him to tell.
Right, right,
And he doesn't tell it because he's a very private person. So and if you notice, he doesn't do personal interviews about his life. He just doesn't
right,
do it. So I'm not going to
right,
share the things that he conveyed to me because that wouldn't be right. It's his story, not mine to tell.
right.
But he is a very, very mindful person, who's very aware, very aware.
Yes, I've always felt that about him from not knowing him, but just feeling his energy. I've always felt that. So when you guys worked together, I was so excited because I was like, wow, these are really two like-minded souls that are
He
doing a
also has a
project.
wicked sense of humor.
Really?
Yeah, wicked sense of humor. He's so funny. Um, when we were the first time I met him, we were taping in New York City in the Trinity Church, and at the same time that we were in town, about I was about 10, 15 blocks away in another cathedral, the Pope was visiting. And so I happened to have on a very, it wasn't white, but it was a very light colored suit. And I was up at the altar and they were filming me looking up at this stained glass fresco thing. And so I was there before Morgan showed up. And so I'm up there and I spent hours with the camera crew and they're, hit this spot, look this way, do this, do that, so they're directing me. And I'm doing all that and I'm really focused on. All of a sudden you hear the voice, the back of the church, and he goes, "Hey David, you look like the Pope." And I immediately, I mean, I just broke, I just cracked up. I just totally cracked up. But he's the type of, because he has such a huge persona, I was immediately, when he walked up, and he just, shook my hand, "How you doing?" type of thing. And I was like, I didn't, because I don't get spellbound around people. I've met a number of famous people and I've talked to a number of famous people. Um, and I don't know. I want to know who the person is. I don't want to know about all their fame. That's not
Right,
who
right,
they are. That's not who they are. But
right.
when Morgan first came up, I actually got tongue-tied for a couple minutes. It was really funny. But he's such a down-to-earth type of person that he's comfortable to be around that it only lasted a few minutes. But it was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. That really took me by surprise that because I normally, to me, everybody, puts their pants on the same way. So
Right.
I, I,
So I
I,
feel the same way. Like, I've never been like any sort of groupie to anybody, not a spiritual person, not a guru, not anybody.
yeah,
I mean, I've been reverent the same way I'm reverent to everyone, but not
right, right.
more to somebody like that versus anyone else. So I know
Yeah,
exactly what you mean by that.
yeah.
So that's interesting. I do feel his voice alone is like he's got this like godly voice. It's this like what
This
I mean, if
resonance.
there
Yeah,
was
he has
such
this.
thing as a human god, it would be like Morgan Freeman's voice.
Well, he did play God, and he jokes about that. He jokes about that with me a lot. So it was kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah,
So anyway,
yeah.
it was a great experience. I treasure it, um, and it's something that I carry with
You,
me.
you've had so much. I mean, you have had so much experience, Dave. I mean, since way before I met you to the current moment, it's just like, I mean, I know you've written three books or two books.
Two
I know
books.
I have two of them,
I'm
two,
working
right?
on it. I'm working on a new project, but right now two books that are published. Yeah. Well,
Okay,
one
so you're
one
working a new
one's out of print now. One's out of print, but it's
book.
available. It's available. If you go to my website, I have I have cases in the garage. Um, but anyway,
You're working on a third book?
it's not a book. I'm not ready to reveal what it is, but
Hmm.
it's something that you can purchase. Yes.
Oh, and you also you make altars. Well, I don't know if you anymore, but you used to make a lot of woodwork. I never got any of your pieces, but one day.
Yeah, you know what? Because our lifestyle's transitioning, I'm going to be shutting down the big shop. I'm transitioning into smaller stuff. But on the website, I do have a few pieces. They're not the big altars like what you see behind me there.
Mhm.
There, I used to make a lot of altars, that type of altar, but
Mhm.
now they're simple, just elevation, something that you can elevate. Because really, what an altar is it's something that rises up a concept. It brings a concept, makes it rise up, and that's what an altar is really supposed to be about. It's not the altar itself is not it just to be able to rise, to raise awareness of something. Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so depending upon where your spiritual nature is how you develop your altar. And so uh I I I have now I just have a few pieces that are on the website. Um and I have a few more that are going to be finished up in the shop, and then I'm probably not going to make any more
I understand. You got too
because
many things going
Be-
on.
but I'm but you know what? The shop is my respite. That's my um where I get to just use my inspiration, because and you and I have talked about that in the past, about inspiration being a tool to connect with your divinity as well. Because where does inspiration come from? It comes from your divine nature. So it's my opportunity to kind of play with inspiration a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know Cindy's doing a lot of stuff too. She's pretty amazing with all the stuff she does. And now she's getting into crocheting and I
That's
love
her.
it.
You know what though? That's her step back. That the crocheting is helping her because her business became so time consuming that she wasn't. We all need something to balance us, work and play, right? Play is just as important as work. So,
Yeah.
yeah, she started the crocheting to kind of be for herself. That was something for herself, but but she gives the stuff away to other people, so it doesn't really, but it's the actual time of working on it is a creative endeavor, so that she's able to create, and it nourishes her being. So
Yeah,
kind of
she
neat.
does a lot of stuff too, between the selling of the
Well,
crystal,
she
the
sells
book, and
crystals. She's a psychic.
tarot.
She teaches. She works at it. She teaches at ARE and all around the world. She used to go to Japan every year and teach over there. Yeah, she's got quite a career as well. We're a good
Yeah,
team. We're a good team.
you guys are a powerhouse. Wow. It
We're a
seems
good
like
team.
I try to think about when I went out to lunch with you guys when we went to the retreat. That must have been like 9 or 10 years ago.
Did you come down to the retreat here or the one in St. Louis or? Oh, no.
Never did get a chance to go to any of those. I always wanted to.
The St. Louis one is no more, but the Virginia Beach retreat is still going strong. So,
Is it?
mhm,
One day I'm gonna get to one of those. Those are
yeah,
powerful. I know you've invited me to a lot of them, and it's always been either a time or money thing that has stopped me. But now, it's like I'm a free agent. The universe has granted me a hiatus from the strict parenting of now both of my kids are in their 20s and they both decide to live in other states. And so now it's like, oh my goodness, I'm going back to my 20s again. I can
yeah.
do whatever I want. I can travel. I can, and so, God is my supply. I just got to keep telling myself, God is
That's
my
right.
supply.
That's right. God is my supply. Maybe I'll see you at one of our retreats down here. Because it's for the retreat here isn't for just near-death experience, although the name of it is NDER and R, but it's not just near-death experiencers. It's people have had all sorts of spiritual experiences, and you've had a number of spiritual
Oh,
experiences.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you'd fit right in. You'd fit right in. You'd love it.
it sounds like fun. It sounds like a
It is
cool.
because the one down here, it is R&R. It's a like, hey, let's break away from the day to day and let's meet with like-minded people. And we have sessions where we talk out things, we share our experiences, we do things like that. We may do some play activities, things like that. But also we go out to, because we're on the beach, every room faces the ocean. And
Mm,
in the morning, we have free time to explore the ocean, explore the beach. And then we all go, we go out to lunch together. We may break up into individual groups or we may grow in mass to a restaurant, and the same thing in the evening, so we have free time and we dine together, but we go to different restaurants and stuff. So we're not sequestered. It's not like we're, okay, we're just going to see each other for, so it's a really relaxed environment and people really enjoy it because they get to be themselves. They don't have to justify themselves. They can just be who they are, so.
yeah, and it's the like-mindedness and the fellowship of
Yeah.
doing
And it's for
things.
anybody who's had any kind of, spiritually transformative experience. You don't have to die to get into this retreat.
I don't have to die to get into it. That's cute, Dave. That's very cute. No, no, you've been so now let's do a numbers thing with this. You have been connected with near-death experiencer groups, either holding your own chapter or going to all these group things, these retreats for how many years now?
Started in 2000. So yeah,
Wow.
24 years. Um,
Wow, that's a discipline in itself.
well, I've always been an advocate for experiencers, because when I first had my experience, there wasn't any support and there wasn't a place to go. Um, so but nowadays we have a lot more outlets available. But to be, I mentioned my mentor, my mentors. I had two very powerful mentors that helped me with my experience. And for people that have had spiritual experiences, to be with like-minded individuals, maybe someone who's had a similar experience, it's incredibly powerful and empowering to be able to share. You don't have to justify yourself because the other person has been there. They get it, that sort of thing. So that's part of the reason I do it, because I'm an advocate for experiencers finding their path and not telling them what their path is, but just allowing them to explore and to hear other people. A lot of times they're like, oh, that's what that was. Oh, I needed that. I needed to hear that, that sort of thing. So um, it's very powerful, very cathartic for experiencers to be able to share their experience in a loving and sharing environment, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you still connect with any of the experiencers that were from the New York State chapter that used to come to all those meetings that I would go to? Do you
Yeah.
connect with a lot of them still?
Yeah. The local experiencers from Central New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was friends. We're friends. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I lost touch with really a lot of them, but there was, I'm still there, still.
Some of them still come down to the retreat, so.
Oh, really?
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
come
incredible.
down here. And some of them went to the St. Louis one when we had the St. Louis one, but yeah.
Wow. That's really that's really cool. I know when you left, it was I was like, oh man, because you did such an incredible job with it, and I'm not disrespecting anybody that took it over, but the people that you had, I remember Tom Sawyer, that was one of your mentors, right?
Yep. He was one of my mentors. Yeah.
He was amazing, and I was lucky enough to go to those meetings and meet him and listen to him talk and buy his book. And I still remember him just like it was yesterday. Like there's certain people in your life that impact you when you listen to their story, and listening to his story um in person, you know what I mean, having him tell his
Yeah,
story.
it's interesting when you listen in person, you get to feel the energy because no one can tell their story without touching it. And when you touch it, you convey it. You convey the energy that you experienced. Raymond Moody was an amazing speaker. Eben Alexander.
Yeah, I remember him.
Um,
I saw
and
all those people
yeah,
under you,
yeah,
all of
yeah.
them.
They're really, and they're amazing people. And just as people, they're just they come from we all come from all different walks of life. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to make it not so long for the next time that we talk because
yes.
we talked the last time we talked was I think last summer or fall because that's when I started in the summer and then I think I had you on like 2 or 3 months after I had started. So yeah, so it's not even been a full year yet for me, which is pretty amazing. I've had about 18 or 19 podcasts
Okay.
and um I don't have as many I'd like to have a few more subscribers than I have, but I'm
Hey,
happy for
we all feel that way. That's just we all feel that way. It'd be nice to be able to, send the message to the world. Yeah, yeah, it'd be
Well,
nice. But
you always figure though, Dave, I think me and you both can attest. When
I know what you're
something
gonna
is
say.
to happen, it gets to people when it's supposed to get to people.
Yep.
So
I
people are
knew you were
supposed
going
to
to say that. Yeah, exactly. That's the reason I wrote my first book because I didn't want it. I was the reluctant author. I did not want to write my book, but Spirit and a number of people and some of them were deceased people, were all encouraging me to write my book. And so anyway, it's
Yeah,
out
I
there.
got both of them. I got both of the books. They're good
Yeah.
books.
All
I'll have
right.
to find a way to get your information on this video. I'll see if I can put a link or something underneath the video when I post this to have
Yeah.
maybe your website, just
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'd like
yeah.
for
Do
people
the
to get.
do the yeah, do the website, dharmatalks.com. It's really simple. That's a portal to everything. My energetic healing can be found there. My contemplative living podcast, the past episodes and everything are all on there. Um and and the white light energy healing, all of that's on there. I even talk about how I overcame cancer. That's on there. So the what the and
That's it. We could do a whole podcast just on that topic alone, and
Yeah,
maybe
we could.
maybe
Yeah, we would.
one.
Yeah, we should maybe set that up. Because I get questions on that a lot.
No,
Um,
and especially right now with the way that things are happening and the way that people are transitioning, and there's just a lot going on with death. And so I think that us talking about that just journey of illness and like
hmm,
how you walked through it and all the different things that came out of that for you, all the gifts, all the jewels that came out of
yeah,
that for you.
yeah. There
I
were a
think
number. Yeah.
I think that right now people could really, yeah. So I don't know what your schedule's like, but let's try to maybe do it within maybe a month or 3 weeks or something like that if you have time to do it.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Yeah. So I'll just connect with you on Messenger,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
we
and
need
then
to schedule it out because my calendar gets pretty full.
yeah. So why don't you do this after we get off? Message me the weeks and the dates that are good for you, and I'll work around them because I
Okay.
think your schedule's a lot more full than mine as far as my spare time. So this is like my spare time stuff that someday hopefully will be my full-time thing, but
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
my hobby thing right now, and so we'll see what it turns into. But yeah, let's we'll get together and just tell me what's good for you, and evenings or weekends are good for me. And I don't know how that works for you, but that's what I'm free right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll figure it out. You just give me some dates and then we'll put you on the calendar and then we can talk about that whole thing with your cancer and we'll go through that with people because that could easily be a couple hours, easily.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to do 2 hours on it, but
Well, no, I mean, as long as it takes, but I mean, you just went through a lot. It was a huge experience. It was huge. A huge experience, and you're on the other end of it, and I think that's the thing that's the most beautiful about it is that you walked through it and you're here now. I mean, do you have just to cap it up, do you have any remnants of anything that goes on with any of that, or what do you deal with physically from that?
Yeah, well, I still I have to see my oncologist, and now I have a urologist that I have to see on, and I've had some treatments recently that I've had to go through. But and I had a surgery recently. But that's not who I am. And
Hmm.
anyway, we can talk more about that then,
Yeah, yeah.
because there's I have some beliefs around the whole thing. I don't dwell on illness.
No, and I think that that's one of the magic bullets of that story is your mind. And that's like, it brings me to like the Joe Dispenza ideas and just the ideas of your thoughts and how your mind works and how all that stuff. We
It's
can
yeah,
just incorporate
because of
all
your
of them.
your cellular memory, you can send messages to all the cells, the trillions of cells in your body carry messages. And you have that ability within you to send healing messages, you know.
Yeah. And you figured out how to do that. Like you hacked yourself.
Yeah, hack yourself. I like that. Yeah, I hacked myself.
You hacked yourself and you can tell people how to hack themselves. So I want to know the hack, the Dave Bennett hack. So
Okay.
you're gonna talk to me about that. But
All right.
I guess we'll jump off now, Dave. But it's been such a pleasure and a blessing, and I always feel honored to hold space with you and have you speak. And my audience likes you, and you know, I'm gonna do better at trying to promote because I'm just learning how to do all these things. So I think this time I did a little better job. So we'll see.
All right. Well, Jill, it's always a pleasure being on your podcast. I love our communication because we're friends. I mean, we've known each other for quite a while, and so it's a much more comfortable kind of conversation that you and I have versus many hosts that I talk to. They don't know me personally, so this is very it's just very comfortable way. It's like okay, we're on the couch, we're having a conversation,
Oh,
so
having a cup of coffee together or a cup of
having a cup
tea.
of coffee. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm so blessed and grateful that the universe, that creator brought us back together all those years ago because we had lost track from the job and we
hmm
both went our separate ways. And then I ran into you at a psychic festival of all places.
yeah.
And then we just kept in touch ever since. And I was so excited when you first came on my podcast because I was like, if anybody I want to have on my podcast is Dave Bennett. So every time I know I'm going to have you on, I get really excited. I'm like, oh, I get to chit chat with my friend.
All right, all right. Well, I really enjoy it too. So yeah, let's not let it go so long. I guess next
No,
time.
no. We're gonna make sure after we get off, we're gonna create some dates. So you just
Yeah,
let me know, look at your calendar and just get with me and tell me when it'll be good again. And then I'll just work with it. So that way we don't like put it off and put it off and oh yeah,
yeah.
we'll get back to each other.
And once you get this edited and and you throw it up on your channel, let me know because I'll cross promote it for
Oh,
you.
I'll send it to you. Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send it right to you.
The link.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
link.
Okay. Yeah. Don't
Yep.
send me the
I'll send you the link.
just the link. That's all I need.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Joe. Take care.
Bye. You have a great night.
You too. Bye bye.